my name is Courtney Sorahan. I am a core leader and kindergarten teacher at Oakstone Academy.
And I am Samantha Sonalik, and I am a kindergarten teacher at Oakstone Academy.
Today we're going to talk a little bit about how to set up your social immersion kindergarten classroom for success. So one of the first things that we do when we're setting up our classroom is really try to focus on use of space. So you'll see we have our library kind of set up. We don't have any books in it yet, but the library is set up with a carpet that's kind of defining the space where the kids know if I'm in the library, then I try to stay on the carpet. We have our dramatic play center, so usually the Barbies or puppets. We don't usually have the library open if dramatic play is open, just to kind of help them regulate and know where they should or shouldn't be. That way there's not a whole group doing something they're not supposed to be doing.
And we have our math area. We have different bins for different math games or math manipulatives. Everything has its own space. And this is sometimes open during free play area if they want to do math things. Other times it's not, and we just use them during math time. Over here we have table activities. It's different games and puzzles, and we rotate them out depending on what we want the kids to have choices of playing. So if we're doing something specific in math, we might take some things off and put out math games that have to do with addition if we want the children to practice that.
The art area, which we try to have the different centers have a visual so they kind of can see what the art center looks like. So we keep all of our things here. These are where all of our shared items are. So as we go throughout the year, if a kid has used all of their red crayon and they don't have a red crayon, we say, well, where could you go? And they usually know to come over here and try to dig through and find a red crayon. We have our rug space, our calendar area. We teach them at the beginning of the year that they each have a designated rectangle to sit in. So it might not be that they have one particular one, but their bodies need to be within their rectangle. So instead of having their bodies all over the place and one leg out, they need to sit crisscross applesauce. Every classroom at Oakstone, no matter if they teach the youngest preschoolers all the way up to our older kids, have a daily schedule. So we try to have that changed by the time the kids come. Sometimes if we forget, they definitely remind us and let us know, like, hey, that's the wrong schedule, because they'll start to learn the schedule, which is great because they're advocating for themselves. But everybody in the class uses the classroom schedule, and then there might be some times where we need to break it down to an individual schedule where the kids can move pieces, or sometimes we break it down into a task schedule. We like to keep all of our visuals organized, so we'll have different areas. So like this is for our play centers. We have some rules visuals, we have feelings, some wants and needs, and then our schedule. So these are the ones that we use when we're making an individual schedule. We'll match the schedule pieces with the same schedule that was our daily schedule. So we'll put all the different pieces on. We teach the student that they can take, when calendar time is all done, then they can put it on the back, and then that's all done, and then they go throughout their schedule. If we need to break it down even more, we can have a task schedule. So for instance, if a student has a hard time making it through the reading groups, first you have to go to the literacy table, then you go to reading, then you go to handwriting. And when ABC table is done, you can take it off and put it on the back, and that helps you know that it's all done. So next is reading. And oftentimes when we're first starting these kinds of visuals, we practice and practice and practice and go over it. And once they are ready to transition more independently, they'll just do it themselves. They'll say, ABC table all done? Yep, ABC table's all done. And then they'll flip it back without us having to tell them to do that. But that's something that we have to teach.
We have some friends sometimes that if you don't call on them every time, will get a little frustrated. So these are individual rules for on the rug, and they have Velcro on the back. So the student can Velcro them next to their name tag. And we teach them, they'll know that these are my rug rules or my carpet rules, and they know to grab them when it's time to go to the rug. And when we're done, they put them back so they know exactly where they are. We have visual checklists where we can write, if a student is able to read, we can write the steps and give them a dry erase marker, and they check them off as they go. This is another one for their rug rules when I want to talk, and it has the steps of the things they need to do while they wait to talk. This is another one that we'll also put either Velcro on the back so it can stick next to their name tag, or they will have a chair pocket on the back of their chair and it'll go in there, and they know to grab it when it's time to come to the rug.
A visual that we use a lot is a first-then chart. And we use this for a couple different reasons. Sometimes we might use it if there is a preferred activity happening and we need them to know, like, sure, first we're going to do this fun thing that you like to do, but then after that we do need to move on. So right now we're at blocks and trucks, but you do need to move on to writing center. So that kind of lets them anticipate that transition is going to happen. We also have it for if the students at a non-preferred activity, letting them know you do get to do this fun thing next. So it might be first you have to be at writing center, but after that, once you get that all done, you get to go to blocks and trucks. So letting them anticipate, okay, I don't like to do this, but if I don't do this, then I don't get to go here. Or if I finally do this, then I get to have some fun. So it kind of helps both ways. We also use it during behaviors. Say a student has been upset and they've thrown their shoes off, but they want to go out to recess with a friend. We can have a visual here that says, first shoes on, then you can be with your friends. So it kind of gives them, it takes our language out of it because you can't argue with a visual. You can't argue with what this says. Like, we just sometimes won't even talk and just tap it to help them see, like, first you have to do this. We have a holiday concert visual that we use a lot because holiday concert days are so different. Our schedule gets a little bit different on those days. So our speech therapists have made these visuals to help the friends know, like, we're going to listen to other kids sing, then we're going to sing, we're going to listen to more friends sing, we're going to all sing together, and then I'm all done. And a lot of times we'll bring a dry erase marker and the kids can cross it off or put a check mark or an X, however they want to do it. And that helps them kind of see where they're at in terms of getting back to their normal routine with where they like to be. We have visuals for different field trips that we go on, just to kind of let the kids have some language. So, like, there's one field trip that we go on that we ride on a tram, which is a lot of fun. But sometimes they don't know what a tram is. So kind of like giving them a visual of, like, we're going to ride on a tram, then they kind of know, oh, that kind of looks like a train. I'm going to get on a train soon. So just kind of taking the ambiguity out of it.
Our visual boards. So as we saw before, we have these pictures up around the room where those different centers are located. And each little pencil here will have a student's name on it. And they'll be in 3 groups. So the orange group will go to the art center first, and then dramatic play, and then blocks and trucks. And their group carries this around the room with them so they can keep track of where they're at now and where they need to go next. So if somebody isn't very fond of dramatic play but really wants to go to blocks and trucks, they can see that they are going to get to it and they know where they go in the rotation.
So let's talk about seating placement for students. As you can see, we have all of our chairs where they're able to face the Promethean board. So if we're teaching from there, if we're teaching over here, the kids are usually on the rug with us, so we don't necessarily need them to be turned. This bigger chair right here is a teacher chair. And usually what we'll do is we'll put kids who might need a little bit of extra support kind of near each other. So maybe they might sit here and here, so a teacher can bring a chair up right here and be able to help these 2 students together, instead of having one student here that needs help and one student over here that needs help and having to try to go back and forth or reach across kids to do that. We also make sure that we have, we split up our kids. So we might have, we try to have our peer students and our students on the spectrum dispersed throughout the classroom pretty evenly. We don't put all of our students with an IEP together. We don't put all of our peers together. We really want them to be immersed in the classroom together. So we work on making sure, if we know we have a student with limited language, that we put them near a peer who might have plenty of language, might talk a lot, to make sure that they're able to even just environmentally pick up some of the language from that friend who might do a lot of talking.
Like we mentioned with the visuals, some of the chairs have chair pockets on them for them to easily get the visuals without having to get up and walk around the room and have that distraction or that excuse to get up and avoid something that we might be doing.
So something that we like to do is have our a ring of our visuals that are kind of attached to us, so it's on like a little cord. So if we need to, they're readily accessible. If there's a friend while Samantha's teaching that is being a little noisy or making some sounds, maybe stemming some, then I can just take my thing right here and I can just show them to have a quiet voice. I don't even have to say it sometimes. I can just put it out and point to it. This helps us not lose them. It helps us to have them with us at all times, so we hang them by the door. First thing we do when we walk in is we hang up our keys and we take our visuals and we attach them to us. So then no matter where we are throughout the school environment, we're able to have visuals whenever we need them. This is our classroom sad spot. You can tell that it's a sad spot because it is a big red circle with a sad face on it. We want that to be a very clear visual to students that whatever choice that necessitated them going there was a sad choice to make and a choice that we don't want them to continue making. So a student might need to go to a sad spot if they've already had a warning that their voice was too loud or that they weren't supposed to be talking. But sometimes students will go to sad spot without a warning if it's something that we've been working on for a long time with that student and they know that they're not supposed to do it and they do it, then they might just go straight to sad spot. But sometimes a student might not compliantly go over to sad spot. So
yes, if a student is not compliantly going to sad spot, or if we are somewhere outside of the room, maybe we're outside at recess or we're at lunch and we don't have a sad spot chair readily available, we have mobile sad spot, which is just a red circle that's cut out and laminated with the sad face on it that we can put anywhere where they're sitting or where they're standing and tell them, well, now this is sad spot. It doesn't have to be one concrete location. If it has to be where they already are, then we use mobile sad spot.
We especially use that if it's not safe to get the student to the designated sad spot. If a student is flailing or kicking or hitting and it's just not feasible to try to lift them or carry them to sad spot, then we can have a sad spot right there because we just want to make sure that all of our kids are being safe. So this is our stoplight. Every student will have a clothespin with their name on the stoplight. Everybody starts their day on green, and then if there is some kind of infraction during the day where they need to move to yellow, then they'll move to yellow, which is just a warning. And then if they continue to have the negative behavior or a different negative behavior, then they'll move to red. So throughout the day, they're not allowed to move down, but every day they get to start back on green. So if you had a rough day on Tuesday, it's not, your whole week isn't a wash, then you have to stay on red. Then you come back on Wednesday and we try again.
Up above, we have our voice levels chart. So number 1 is no talking, and they all have visuals to help the students who, again, can't read exactly what it says or are new to Oakstone and might not know what this means. So level 1 is no talking. Level 2 is a soft whisper voice, 3 is an inside voice, 4 is our yelling voice, and 5 is our emergency scream. And we reference these throughout the day when we're doing different activities of what voice level we expect them to have.
So with all of the visuals, all of classroom setup, all of the behavior systems that you have in place, if you don't have a team that's consistent, then those things aren't going to be as helpful as what they could be. So making sure that at the beginning of the year, you sit down with your classroom team. We always have each other, and then also a third person in our room, usually a classroom aide, that we all make sure we're on the same page with. So we know that if I'm teaching, Samantha's going to have the same behavior expectations, the same social expectations for students as I will if she's teaching. So we just want to make sure that we're always being consistent because that's really what's going to help our students grow. Something that's really important to talk about and to try to have prepped as much as possible before the beginning of the school year is your data binder. So we have this behavior data binder, and we have students' IEPs in it, their FBAs in it. We make our tracking sheets before the beginning of the school year. That way we already know what we're looking for. We already know what visuals we need to have prepped for individual students. You can collect data, but then if you don't use the data, it really doesn't do anything for you. So making sure that you're collecting data and then also looking at it, making sure that students are making progress. If they're not making progress, trying to figure out why, figuring out if the goal is not an appropriate goal or if maybe you're not supporting them in the most appropriate way. Changing up what you're doing can often help the student have as much progress as they can have.